guess as a store, we could do that. So maybe in the beginning we don't even do that. So if we start out, and if the thing in our hand, we started out the game, thing in our hand is 0. We want to move up into our hand. If it's 0, we're done. Let's see if that makes sense. So done is swap. So assume whatever we had is in our backup. And then we will... Does that make sense? Store. I think that's fine. So we want to take whatever's in our backup, send that down, and then set our hand to be this. And so we'll also, I guess, want our backup to be it also. If the number we received is not a 0, we want to swap. So now back is no longer our thing. So, all right, we do this. Now, these two are both our original number. We subtract up. If the value is greater than 0, then we like the thing. We want to store. So then we take the... all right, well, even if that doesn't work. So at this point here, we have some difference. If we jump to start, then our hand is not the right value. So this isn't going to work. So that was a lot of planning for not working. Okay, so I'm going to do a little bit of structuring of what I had in mind. I guess off camera, maybe, to restructure this. Maybe not. Okay, I lied. So we're going to do this on camera. Let's do this. So what I want to do is, this is going to be a storage thing for this thing is going to do some logic and then determine if it should go here. So if this thing, when this thing starts, it's going to swap and save, maybe. So both things are the same. We might rearrange that later. Then we want to take the thing from above, put it into our hand. If the thing we received is a 0, then we want to output. So then down here we have output is let's see, so we want to then swap, get the thing from the backup, move down, or move our thing down, and then reset our hand to be 0. If it's not a 0, we assume that the value we got is something we want to store. So we can just keep it in our hand and then jump to start. So if it sends us a 5, let's say, then we want to just store it. Once it sends us a 0, that means output the results. But if this is where I'm storing the value, I'm also going to need to be able to retrieve it. So if the value I receive is so move the thing in your hand. If it's a 0, output. If it's negative, so less than 0, we want to retrieve. So we'll add that in now. I really like spacing out my code, but I guess I won't for the purposes of this. So if I have retrieve, then what that means is that this thing wants to know my value. So I will move, I'll have to swap. Swap, move my hand up so that it gets it. And then I need to swap back to put it back in backup. And then jump to start. Okay. So this thing will, any value, if you give it a 0, it's going to spit out a value down here and then reset its value. If you give it a negative number, it will send the value back up. And if you give it any other positive value, it'll store the value. Okay, I think that works. So next, we actually need to move some of our logic here into this. So what we want to do is when the number comes in, so we want to, I might just have it so that this thing figures out, so this thing is going to be in charge of finding the lowest value. So we start out and we want to say if it's 0, we want to output. So we'll change this to be output. So what we do at this point is we want to move a 0 down. Yeah, I guess. So if you say output, move a 0 down, which tells this thing spit out the value. Okay. But I guess that's only if, okay, so the number comes in. sorry about all this, but I guess you're watching. So if you're still watching, this is what you want, I guess. So we want to, the number comes down. We want to determine if it's small or not. So we want to take the value from up and store it. And I guess, let's suppose that this guy's going to send it twice. He's going to send it twice. And so we can do some math. So if the number, so we get the thing, we put it in our hand. If the value is 0, then we tell it, we say output. Let's get rid of some of this. Let's get rid of everything except output, and just have an idea what we want to actually look at. So move the thing, put it in your hand. If it's 0, that means output the results, spit out the results. Otherwise, if it's not 0, then we want to subtract. I guess we want to move -1 down, which is saying, give me the value. Then we want to subtract down. So it's saying, take the value I just received minus the value from this. And at this point, if this number is positive, so I took this number, subtracted this. If it's positive, that means that this number is bigger. And this one needs the smaller number. So if that's the case, if it's bigger, then we don't want it. So we're just going to say jump to start. It's giving me it twice, so I'll have to decide how I want to handle that. So maybe I don't give it twice. And then I instead, once I get it, right here, before I do the subtract, I'll do a save. So then right here, if it's greater than 0, I don't need it. So then I just jump back to start. Otherwise, I want to store it down below. So then I need to swap, get the value back from the backup, and then move my hand down. So it's taking some number, 3, sending it down here, which this thing now stores it. And then at that point, we want to, let's go back to the start. I think that makes sense. So then we'll do this. Same thing, this guy's going to store it if I tell it to. They do a difference here. So this thing is going to take it, and we want to move it also this direction too. So move this thing right, move left, down. So here I will take the value, put it in my hand. If it's 0, output, that's still the same. Save the value, send -1 down, which is going to tell this thing to send it up. I want to subtract. If it's less than 0, it means that the number I received so this one needs to be the bigger numbers. I may need to swap those two things, but so if everything errors out, I may need to make this be less than, make this be greater than. But I think otherwise the logic might work. Let's play it. Zeros, huh? Huh. Okay, interesting. So here I swap, so make them both equal to the number. Move up into my hand. If the thing is 0, I want to output. So then I do a swap, which should make my hand be equal to the backup. So it should be my original value. Send that down. And then reset my number. Okay, why doesn't that work? All right, I guess we'll step through it. So we'll do a step through with this line. So play. We're going to step to the next thing. So we have 14 coming in. So 14 came in. It's here. Let's see. It came in here. It's sent down this direction. It's also sent to the right, I think. Okay, it's right here. I see. So 14 is here. I'm going to send a -1 down. This value is 0. Right. If the number down below is a 0, it should just automatically... So this thing also needs to be aware if the number I received is a 0, or if the number I had before was a 0. The number I had before was a 0. I need to just accept it. I need to indicate that it's something I should keep. So, all right, let's start over. Let me ponder that real quick. Well, let's see. So with the 0 being here, I could see that this one would stay as 0 because it's less than that. But then why wouldn't this one end up getting a bigger number? So I feel like something's wrong. So let's run it again. And then we will jump to where it first errors out. Well, let's try and as we step through, let's try and watch this number, these numbers here, and seeing. So it has a -1. So it never kept the 14. Interesting. Oh, now it has a bigger number. Okay. Oh, so I had a bigger number, but then something in the logic dropped it out. Okay, so let's see. So if it's... When it starts, it does this. When... For the store... So if I have it, if it's equal to 0, output. If it's -1, retrieve, otherwise jump back to the start. Which should, oh no, I see. So it's actually, let me swap these two. Let me swap the swap. See if that helps. So I think that this change might make it so this one's still going to have 0, which is a problem. But then this one will, I think, end up being the right number. So let's run through it a little bit. So it outputted nothing. Okay, it outputted -1. Okay, well that's an issue. Why would it output -1? So if it's less than, it should retrieve, which says swap, send it up. Oh man, this program. Something else. All right, let me I guess I'll make a breakpoint. This one doesn't help as much. What I want to do is figure out this one at least, why, what it's doing each time. So I'll put a stop here. So the first time through, it's not doing anything. It's going to sit on this. So it received a -1 because this program here sent out a -1. So maybe I really want to breakpoint when I receive a command from above. Okay, we'll do that. So I received a -1 because in this case it had a 14. So it sent down a 1. It's trying to subtract 0 from 14. So we'll step forward a little bit. I get it. I'm moving down to retrieve, which says swap. So now I put 0 back in my hand. I send the 0 up. This thing ends up being 14 minus 0, which is not less than start. Or not, I'm sorry, it's not less than 0. So then it doesn't give it down. Okay, so that's wrong. So let's change this to be greater than. Let's try it again. So here I get the -1, 14 still. So I send up I swap, send up the 0. It subtracts. It sees that the number I have is bigger than the one down below. Swap. Oh, no, okay. Sorry. Yes. This is saying if it's less than, go back to the beginning. Okay, let's try this again. So it's 14, 0. I send the 0 up. It subtracts from 14. It sees it is not less than 0. So do a swap. So I get 14 back in my hand, and then move the other number down. So it's waiting to send it down. 14's on its way. I'm still waiting to get down to this. So now I have the value, 14 in my hand. It is not equal to 0. It is not less than 0. It jumps to the beginning. It saves the value to 14. Does a swap, which in this case doesn't do anything. And then, oh, so I guess this swap is useless. The idea is here, whatever in my hand is currently the right thing. Okay, so I can actually remove that swap, but we'll come back to that. So now I'm just waiting on receiving it. So I think that this will output the right thing. So let's play it. So I is wrong. Oh, we still ended up with a -1. How did that happen? Huh. How do we end up with a -1? So I stored a 14. Now I'm storing a -1 at this point. Okay. Let's start over. So I receive a -1, which says I want to retrieve the value. I get the 14. I go to retrieve. No, okay, right. So then it jumps back to start. Save the value. So now 14 is in there. So now this thing is just waiting. It received a -1, which is less than 1. So it's going to go to output. Oh, I'm sorry. No. Right. My bad. It's going to go to retrieve. So it goes to retrieve, which says swap. So I have 14 in my hand. I send 14 up. Oh, this should be save. Okay. All right. So I think I know what's going on. So I'm going to do save at this point. Because this is the right value is in my hand, I want to save it. I believe that we don't need this command here. So let's try that. So I will step, or I'll keep on hitting play. I mean, this is still going to error out, but I think A should be good. Okay, good. So A is figured out. So now we need to remove that breakpoint. The problem is 0 is causing a problem. So we can do the same changes we've made over here. So this is behaving the same way. It storage cells and then spits it out if it's told to. What we need to do is if the number down below is 0, we need to just accept it. So when this thing starts, it's going to take the value from above and move it into the register. If it's 0, then output. What we kind of want to do is add in another thing here, which is going to say, oh, that'll take a couple lines of code. Because what I want to know is if the thing down below is 0, then, well, I guess we can. So output's only 1 line. There we go. We made it smaller. So up here, first thing to do is if the thing below is 0, then we just want to take whatever's above and send it down. So we want to say move -1 down, which is saying give me the value. Move down into my hand. I'm going to run a room quick. If what's in my hand is 0, then jump to then I can skip the subtraction stuff, but that's not near me. Then if this, then I want, okay, so we can make this a little smaller. So can we fit that in that many lines of code? Not really, because of some other jumps and stuff. How interesting. The whole 0 thing was a problem. Okay, what if we do this? So we'll remove the things I was just saying. Okay. So it's kind of back to where it was before. What we're going to do here is this number, we want a number that's less than. So these numbers can only go up to 999. Or so what we could do is we can prime this number to be move 999 to the register. And then whenever we reset, we can say 999. If 99 happens to come through here, that's okay, because that's still going to be equal to this, so we'll keep it. So this might work. I guess since we did that over there, let's make it pretty. Let's make it the same across. Okay, and no breakpoints, play. Okay, functional. Slow. Very slow. Functional. Yeah, so I think we're good. Fast forward. Okay, so I have a little bit more cycles. Same number of cells. Oh, same number of lines of code. How interesting. I expected to have more lines of code. So, wow, this is a long episode. Anyway, so we have, in this particular one, we have more cycles. But I'm okay with that for now. I'm done with that puzzle. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.